Hi, this presentation is around formal verification and proofs and the future of robust software development. It is often argued that formal verifications of process, no matter how they are obtained, will not play the same role in the development of computer science and software engineering as proofs do in mathematics. In fact, many real problems make formal verification process difficult to justify because there is hardly any continuity and we deal with a lot of frequent changing requirements in code of the software. And these are really complex pieces. The concept that we will dig deep into is around the feeling that simplicity of software verification should not dominate the program language design as a matter of fact. Many people do not understand the difference in details and they get confused. So let's dive in. What is mm, mathematics? Let's start with defining mathematics and programming first. Mathematics is a step-by-step hypothesis to the theorems. Each step justifies its predecessor by a strict rule of transformation. It is informal and intuitive, also organic, and very close to our society. It's something like we can almost touch and feel and see and observe. Now let's take a look at what um, programming is. So it is basically the process of designing and building executable computer program to accomplish specific role or goal. It involves in-depth analysis, including designing and generating algorithms using programming language of the choice of the user. The question, however, that arises is programming more mathematics-like? Well, there have been many arguments around the same. The aim of mathematics is to increase one's confidence in the correctness of using theorems as a logic. But all it gives is a proof, which is only one step towards building the confidence, and not the confidence in itself. Basically, it's an aid. Ultimately, it's the social process that determines whether mathematic mathematician feels confident about the theorem or not. And it is this thing that we can't really see how it affects anyone's confidence about the piece of software. As we understand, programming is similar to mathematics, but it's not the same. It's similar because programming increases one's confidence in the correct functioning of the software, but it's not the same. That is the main intent of this. For instance, increasing the number of mathematicians working on a given problem will not necessarily ensure us about the anticipated proofs. Let's go back in history. For example, in mid 1960s, very few people knew what verification meant. Although no program verification was even attempted at that time. In fact, the absence of verification was not even noticed. And just to set some context, first human flight flew in 1903. First computer was built in University of Pennsylvania in 1946. So by 1960s, we had some decent amount of work done in the software back then. So why is there a confusion? The verification themselves are long and ugly, and not to forget they are boring. Irrespective of the fact how concise the fascinating idea is, it is boring. So if verification of real processes are being considered um, as being socialized, we would understand this. Actually, the difference between formal and understandable thing is it has basically confused many people and they are not related, and this is where the confusion arises and people get into conflicts. The term formal is around the context of freezing a concept, either because it has acquired so much stability that the presentation is no longer an issue, or because it needs to be immutable so that it could be studied in a mathematical sense. Knowing what constitutes a valid proof is of very little help in constructing or understanding a real mathematical proof. Formal verification of proof is difficult to justify and manage. For instance, few decades back, American and Japanese topologies announced a result of a homotopy group, uh, but their findings or their solutions or their final observations were totally contradictory. They were totally opposite, but they had their logics of the proofs, and we cannot discredit them. They were correct in their own aspect, but were opposite. In programming, however, we cannot have two separate results based on the fact that the proofs are correct. The end result will not be based on the proof, and they cannot be contradicting to each other. Basically, we are saying that proof in itself does not raise our confidence level significantly. Also, proofs are based entirely on calculation and may not always be correct. We are not saying that it will always be incorrect, but it may not be always correct, no matter how simple or clear they are. Instead of asking the question, how do you believe in a theorem, we should ask or understand the underlying assumption that we are believing in a theorem. That is really the key, making assumptions and understanding. Let's take a look from a different perspective. If we were to look in a classical viewpoint, we would say um, that in correct formal or a valid step-by-step syntactically correct proof, basically it would be like a binary where we would say either a yes or a no, but that is not applied in everyday. mm, So also, if let's say we take an uh, probabilistic view on the other hand, it looks from the perspective of probability, which isolates uncertainty. So it will just give us the probability. What happens in a mathematical proof is that every mathematician tries to paraphrase as per his or her own personal view. And this leads to multiple versions of the same theorem. For example, law of quadratic reciprocity has over 50 proofs. And we are not saying that the proofs are uh, incorrect, but their conclusions uh, are different, or the way in which they have been designed are different. And programming cannot have different outcome, or even though the ways could be different. Um, Theorems also transform over time. So let's take a look how we can test a proof. It's simply yes. It's the simplicity basically what we are trying to say. So simplicity is the first test for proof. For instance, as long as we can explain a theorem to a small child in simple terms, we are good. Even Einstein were of the same opinion. In fact, Dr. De Mello, Lipton, and Perles, they have all kept simplicity above all in the article that we are referring. Basically, they believe that simplicity is the first filter of the proof, followed by other ideas that that support the proof. So, if one has technology to write formal specification at an abstract enough level, then we are more likely to get them right in the program itself. In that case, we should be able to implement a language at a level and then let the specifications be the program. Grasping why a program does not does what it is supposed to depends on multiple things, and certainly the ease of formal verification should not dominate program language design. That is what we are trying to say, because it can lead to different direction of software development. Customer may not even want the end product that that the design led them into. They are more about what they need rather than what the design did. Ease of verification should be irrelevant to the software design. Actually, mathematicians use simplicity as the first test of proof. Only if it is interesting, then they are, like we mentioned before, then the details are considered. So let's say a new programming language solves tough problems such as security and concurrency. In that case, human or manual checks are likely to be less reliable, and we'll see more uh, in the coming slides. Programming is similar to mathematics, but the social process which work in mathematical proof actually do not work here. They actually doom the software verification. People do not completely understand this. They may or may not have an idea, but this is a very contradictory statement. Programs and specifications should be repeatedly modified during the entire design process. And this is really important because we might, uh, with time, everything or the changes are really needed, and we may not be able to cope up with that. Verifications are usually long, even for a small software. It can run into dozens of documentations of pages, and it's extremely lengthy in order to verify uh, with such or too much of documentation. So as they say, the severity with which a system fails is directly proportional to the intensity of the designer's belief that it cannot fail. And this is something that we need to consider. After digging deep into the requirements and writing lengthy cases and just stamping that, okay, this is verified, uh, this cannot be taken for granted. We believe that study of algorithms and the process will develop like any other mathematical activity, primarily by informal social mechanism and very little by formal mechanism. At the time when the referred article was written in 1979, verification was still in infancy. The largest task one could handle was the verification of simple algorithms like finding. It was supposed to tackle much and more complicated algorithms. The next thing uh, we discuss here is about software being discontinuous. No programmer would agree that large software systems are composed of just algorithms and small programs. In fact, there are many programs in which algorithm plays almost no role. Like, for example, how the code could be about user interface and where data is being provided by the user's interaction. So how will the proof help there? It can help only to an extent, but we cannot generalize it. Usually the specifications of the algorithms are concise and tidy, and they don't change, while the specifications of the real world system are immense and they frequently change. So software, we cannot apply the same logic here as mathematics. Let's talk about scalability for a bit. As the example suggests, like for example, we cannot scale babysitting a sleeping child for an hour to just scale up for the entire family. That's not how things work. The problems are fundamentally different in software systems, and we need to understand this. Similarly, verifying algorithm for a software when scaled in a distributed system, let's say, it can't have same old verification technique. There would be tons of new challenges, and hence cannot really generalize them. Just as we talked about software being discontinuous, a big software system consists of multiple subsystems, and simple small change can wreak havoc. Even a character difference can lead to a totally different outcome, and the proof to verify by just relying on the same method will not be very handy. And we simply cannot assume that the big verification will be the sum of many small verifications combined together. Insisting on the formal details is simply waste of time and resource, and we have limited resource as we know. We must simply not plunge into activities that we do not understand. Another thing to consider is we cannot simply create a perfect mechanism to solve each problem. Let's talk about reliability. It doesn't mean that the system will be perfect, ideally speaking. If the system were to be perfect, there would be no bridges falling or no airplanes crashing. Uh, no amount of correctness can achieve that. But it is useful, and continuous exercise is what makes it possible. We have had this concept of a verifiable software for quite some long. However, the point is verifiability must not be allowed to overshadow reliability. Reliability is something what we need to achieve, especially when their lives are at risk. The dependable part of the software is really important. Having a monolithic view of verification is simply blinding, basically. And that is uh, somewhat the essence of this presentation as well. Let's talk about technical debt and non-reproducible defects for a bit. Verification is believability. What we believe is what we see, and we verify. We should not narrow our vision to just verification as the key of reliability. So there's a difference here between believability and reliability, irrespective of the fact that how good it looks promising. Formal verification of program, no matter how they are obtained, will not play the same key role in the development of computer science and software as they do in mathematics. Keeping sympathies of program verification aside, we should clearly say that the confidence of a software is not increased by the proof of its correctness. Let's take a real life example. There could be certain non-reproducible defects in a system which are hard to find. Actually, these are the ones that pass the verification criteria but are dangerous in real life. Technical debt could be one of the reasons. And as we read Dr. Phillips and Dr. Ali Misbah's article on the technical debt, it is very much evident that uh, it could be one of the root cause. Therefore, identifying technical debt becomes an important aspect in any of the software. Ideally, we shouldn't have this in first place, but due to complexity and incrementing duration of the software development, it evolving over time, it becomes difficult to avoid technical debt, but certainly not impossible if you spend decent amount of time and effort. There's another interesting article that I found. It says works from by Dr. Misbah. Um, as per that, there's a staggering 17% non-reproducible defects in a system, which is huge, especially for reliable and distributed software. As can be seen in this diagram, technical debt can be short-term, long-term, intentional, unintentional, and so forth, so on and so forth. Let's take another example, mobile development. Based on the research, it is observed that most developers feel that current testing tools are weak and unreliable and do not support important features. Like, for example, changing network location, connectivity, sensor, or different gestures, for instance. In fact, emulators also seem to lack certain features, which makes analysis of testing more challenging and less reliable. Last year, when I was working for a quick service restaurant giant on their mobile ordering system, we would observe application crashes or application getting hung behavior when visiting different stores with low network areas or even at peak server load, for instance, Sunday mornings when the load was really high. Even though such issues were only found on field, in and around the store, actual stores, and almost never in our headquarters of software development lab. They were difficult, really difficult to isolate. No amount of proof or steps to reproduce was enough, and it would take great amount of effort to fix those. So, when designing, we should consider all of this. In fact, we'll talk about false positives as well. All right. Before we finish, let's take a look, considering what people across the globe think. Starting with the uh, social problem, we believe in low trust. Uh, there's a vicious cycle when there's low trust. Let's say false positive, whether it says uh, for the errors, and it says that everything is working fine, but it is not. So that is really difficult when you talk about production and what can happen. It will take a lot of extra effort for sure to fix that. Proofs only match programs to specification, which means they are only useful if the specifications are easier to write and understand than the program themselves. Also, lightweight or weak assertions are easier to write and understand than full specifications. In many applications, algorithms play almost no role. Yes, that's true. And it explains why we believe that no programs need to be statically typed. Lastly, we should use abstractions that can be analyzed to increase confidence in a design. And that is exactly how engineering disciplines do their work. Part of the knowledge make sense in particular context and how much the result can be trusted. For example, if you are using a system in a regime where it behaves linearly, is it valid to assume the flow there? Do we need to worry about any delay per se, etc., etc.? So on a high level, that was it about the presentation. Here are some of the references. Thank you.